I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast,
Great.
cause we still alive.
But that
No
does
big,
mean like being
flat
in the
pop,
problem solving mode is
shoot
very
a shot.
important. And if you guys, I know you guys are
Coming
just
in.
joining us, thank you so much. But we just had like a tech episode. And quite frankly, all I had to do was restart my computer. So it was on my end. I thought it was on her end. And I just had to restart. So it was all me. How about that?
Listen, that's what the men always think. It's on our end until they're proven
See, we're starting
different.
early. We're going to start early today. Okay, I see. Oh, my goodness. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Understanding a Man podcast. And when I tell you, I'm super excited this evening or this morning or whenever that you guys are watching this. But so this is the start of our new season, season 4. And I don't think I could have started this any better for this person I'm going to bring on board today. But again, those of you who have been liking and sharing us on social media, thank you so much. Continue to follow us on Elam B King on all platforms. And you can always go to elambking.com to find any additional information as well. And so I have a treat for you guys today, but let me tell you. See, those of you who are listening, you know, we normally come from give information to help men, right? Men and women, to be honest with you. But, you know, we sometimes come from the men angle just to kind of add a little extra flavor there, right? And so I want to share something with you. So this is what happened. I'm a big audiobook person, right? And so about 3 years ago, Audible suggested a book for me, right, based upon the other books that I read, and it was called The Female Brain, and I was just like, the female brain, okay, let's see what this is about, right? And I started listening to that book, could not put it down. It then after that one went to the male brain, and I was like, oh my gosh, this information is amazing. And so, of course, you know, being in the coaching space, I actually have. If you're a client of mine and you're listening, you're probably going like this right now because I probably say about at least 85% of my clients either heard me quote this person or they went and bought her book as well and like, oh my God, this is so good. So, you know, just the planets are lined up. And let me tell you, before I introduce her, if you asked me up until this moment, if the top 3 people in the world that I would ever want to interview, she would be on the list simply because of the knowledge. And you're just going to hear that in a moment. But I just had to bring her on board because, gentlemen, I really want you to tune in your ear. Ladies, of course, you definitely need to tune in. But, man, I want you to listen in on some of the information that's shared here because I know that this can add to our relationships and allow us to see some information that we just might have thought took personal or something like that, right? So I would like to introduce to the world Dr. Louanne Brizendine. Welcome to the show, Dr. Louanne.
Thanks for having me. We've already been problem solvers together, so we know we can make this relationship work here.
Right, right. Oh man, just a click of a button, and now we're here. So I want to jump right in, and just first of all, if you want to take a moment and just introduce yourself, give them the elevator version of who you are, just your greatness that you do out here, and then we can dive right on in here.
Well, I'm Dr. Louanne Brizendine, and I started a clinic about 20 years ago called the Women's Mood and Hormone Clinic.
Okay.
And all of this book called The Upgrade that I just came out with, how the female brain gets stronger and better in the second half of life, comes out of the research from that clinic and all of my patients. So it's all written in stories. You don't need any science really to read it, but it gives you the bottom line of like what's going on under the hood for women during this stage of life from about we're talking about like age late 30s to probably up to 60. So that's the chunk of time we're talking about.
And so, you know, and really, so I'm not finished with the book, right? I'm not. I got maybe about a third of the way through, and I was just like, wait a minute, this information, because even though it hits that bracket, I want to say that it kind of answers even for those that are in their 40s and 30s. You said what was the age bracket again? From where?
About 35 to 65. Yeah.
Okay. You said 35. That's what I was saying. So those of you who are, and then those of you who are in your 20s, y'all need to be like this, like just looking, because it's not if, but when this space starts to come. So again, Dr. Brizendine, I try to share some information, helping from a relationship perspective. So I want to just move right in and just kind of talk about how is understanding the changes in the mind important for a couple during the upgrade time frame.
Okay, I think what happens, the bottom line, which you already hinted about earlier, Alam, is that it's important to know what biology, because biology is destiny unless you know what it's doing to you. I'll say that again. Biology is destiny unless you know what it's doing to you.
Right.
And to your partner, because we take things personal. And both of us, males and females in relationships, something is said or something is whatever, and we take it personal. But when you understand that the purpose of a hormone is to cause a behavior, for example, the hunger hormones cause you to eat. The sex hormones cause you to want to have sex. It's as simple as that. So these things that are pushing us to do behaviors, it's important to know about those and how those are changing in yourself and in your partner. So, so that you don't end up taking things personal. Like for you guys that are listening out there, if she's going through this phase or whatever, this particular phase, and her hormones are going through some stuff we're going to talk about in a little while, she may just not be that into you right now. And sex is not a thing. It's like, it may be on your mind, but baby, it's the furthest thing from her,
Whoa. Hold on. This is making my head sweat already. Okay, hold on. Because I don't know. Now, I'm going to ask this. Now, is this a get out of jail free card for women to say, hey, my hormones say I don't want to have sex, or I don't want to have. And the reason I want to ask that, because some might look at it like that. And I want to make sure that there's a space in here where we have an understanding of it, versus that this just absolutely cannot happen, or can we maybe do this a different type of way? Because you went right into that topic that people are going to say, wait a minute, she said it, my hormones don't want to have sex, so get away from me. So
yeah, I went to the heart of the issue. I figured, this every couple's bedroom's got this shit going on for a lot of years over all kinds of things. And this is like, you're thinking like, well, it was the proverbial headache and now it's the proverbial hormone. So no, it's not a get out of jail card free. It's just, I think what happens is that if you're understanding what's going on for these hormone surges, let's take the regular menstrual cycle, because I'm just going to educate you guys on something, what happens and when when your get lucky days are the most, guys. Well, okay, listen up, prick up your ears, because here we go. Here's the bottom line. So the way we count the menstrual cycle is day one of bleeding. So as soon as the period starts, we count that as day one. And then as you count forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 14 days of the cycle is when there's a lot of estrogen around, because the ovary, the little follicles where the egg is about ready to pop out to get fertilized, it's making a lot of estrogen every single day. It gets higher and higher and higher, and about 3 or 4 days before ovulation. So for a lot of women, that's day 10. If you're counting forward, guys. If you're kicking,
we got to get our clocks out.
Yeah, get your clocks out. Get your schedule out. Day one of bleeding, and then you're on day 10, 11, 12, because the day 14 roughly is day of ovulation. So we're moving up towards ovulation. The highest time of estrogen in your whole cycle is day 10, 11, 12. It makes women become a little more flirtatious. You put on a little more makeup. You may just dress a little sexier. You're kind of like on the come hither, because Mother Nature made it that way so that women would be looking for the best sperm. That's what you're doing on those days. You are out there looking for the best sperm. You may not know it, but that's what you're looking for.
Can we stop right there really quickly? I think that that's very important. Because you said in the beginning that your hormones, basically, with regard to your mood, it does what? Your hormones?
Hormones, the purpose of a hormone is to cause a behavior.
Right. So in this moment, you're saying that, hey, y'all think that you might be looking cute and all that. In actuality, whether you want to have a baby or not, your body is saying, hey, you should be looking for somebody to have sex with during that time.
Absolutely. It's all the come hither thing. Your pheromones are like attracting him. He doesn't even know it, and whatever, it's like you guys are looking. I mean, our whole purpose, females' purpose, in those days, we want to look the most attractive we can to guys, because Mother Nature has you out there looking for the best sperm to get pregnant. I mean, that's just how it's procreation. It's survival of the species. So that's how we're wired. That's how we're wired in there. So those days that are about the 3 to 5 days before ovulation. So we count days 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And also women are much more verbal and chatty in those days. I tell my female students, like, plan your oral exams on those days. You're a little bit more on top of your game. You're more, all of this stuff. And also women's testosterone level is highest at that time. which is the hormone for females and males that make you want to have sex.
Right. That's why I'm shaking my head like, now that one I knew. I remember listening to that.
So, I mean, you guys always have you guys have 10 times more than we do all of our lives. You guys are always got 10 times more than we do. But our the biggest amount we have in our regular cycle is about 10, 11, 12 days past when the bleeding started. So a few days before ovulation. So if you're counting if you're counting guys on that, it's like day 1 of bleeding, count forward 10, 11, 12 days, and those are get lucky days.
And that's what I want to ask. So are you saying that we got a 4-day window at best every month and that's it? And then after that it's on the decline? Is that what you're saying?
It's better than nothing.
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute! No, do not. I think I'm gonna delete that part out. But I think. But here's the thing. I'm joking, but I want to be.
Not that women don't want to have sex at other times during the period. That's the thing that we do. It's not. It's like that's when everything is working. All the lights, baby, are green. That's green, 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 green. All the lights are green during those 4 or 5 days. So that's when fertilization of the egg can happen. That's when your whole body is like on the green light as a woman.
So I gotta say this. So you're talking about 30 days. Okay, in 30 days, you're saying, ladies and gentlemen, but particularly gentlemen, that if you're having some difficulty in this area, maybe the bedroom action is not popping off the way that you wanted to. If we had a place to start, because I actually do want to use this as at least as a place to start for some people who might have zero to maybe one time that they do it a month, right? If you want to see if you can get like a 4 days that you can maybe at least get 2 or 3 in there, it's day 10 through day 14 for at best.
Absolutely.
That's really window, serious.
But it's you're right. I mean, I think to think about it as a time to start when things haven't been going great, because it's like
I love that. I love that.
It's like anything. It's like if you push on a locked door, you're not going to get in. If the door is left ajar and you push on it, you're in no problem at all. And that's what's going on during those 3 or 4 days, of the month. So it's just like easy.
Yeah, I like that statement. And I got to say this. I want to put it like on a sign, because a lot of times when people are having challenges, there's no start place. They keep going to the same place. So I love that analogy. So if you had a place to start, if you need a place to start, gentlemen, and even ladies as well, start in that 10 to 14. So get your calendars, and you might have to talk to us about how to even do that, Dr. Brizendine, of how to do the calendar. But so step 1 of that 10 to 14 day is the best time to get through that window. Okay. All right. So gentlemen,
you guys, there's a lot of apps. There's apps you can put on your phone, you guys, that you can just track her period on that. They're apps. There are a bunch of apps out there that we women use to track our own. So you can just download that yourself and track hers yourself. You may not want to tell her it, but you might. I don't know. It's a negotiated settlement, that is.
So if we had to enhance that portion as well, so if that's the good starting point, and that's just in general, right? So how does that change as the mind changes over between that 35 and 65? If you had to just give some points in there of us to also understand, as you go 35 to 40 to 45, does that window get bigger, smaller? What other things that might be happening that could affect couples?
So just for one thing, it's like if she's on the birth control pill, it doesn't count, because that takes over the hormones completely. It takes over that's not the natural cycle. So the hormones, if it's if you're on the pill or hormonal contraceptives or something, that's not working. So this is only if you're on your own natural cycle that Mother Nature gave you.
Okay, that's a good
not
point.
A judgment statement. A lot of women do a lot better on the pill, and they can have sex all month long. It's not an either or kind of situation. So what happens at about age 37 is when the eggs in the ovaries start to get a little. See, we women, we're given 1 million eggs at birth, and that's all we're going to have. And you guys, the testicles make sperm all your life. It's constantly replenishing and making new sperm.
Right.
But we women, the eggs are very precious and sophisticated, and they're given to us at birth. We don't make any more. And then actually, even by the time we start our periods at 12, it's down to 500,000. So we've already lost 1 million. It's just they just naturally kind of just they die off. They're kind of like sloughing off skin. So we just slough them off. By age 37, 37 to 41, we're going to be down to our last bit of eggs. And so the eggs, which means something about this hormone cycle we're talking about, because that big bit of estrogen that happens before and the testosterone that happens before ovulation starts getting a little sputtery, and sometimes isn't there as much, whatever. So I think what guys should know is in the age group more likely between like 42 and 52, there's a lot of sputtering of the ovaries that's going to go around. And some months you don't ovulate at all, so there aren't any eggs. They're called an eggless cycle. So there's eggless cycles. And we women don't even know when we're having an eggless cycle or not.
Right. I was going to say, how you even know that?
We still tend to bleed what you have. So the bleeding thing, so you guys should kind of, okay, do you want to hear the really down and dirty stuff that goes on?
Oh, no, but I mean, the men, here's the thing. It's because the men kind of need to know. I think this is education for the husbands that are out there that might be experiencing these moments, these spikes of, from a sexual energy perspective. So we kind of need to know what you go through. And that's why I want to bring that. So, I mean, we don't have to get too raw, but you can get as raw as you want to. I mean, it doesn't really, we need to know.
You need to know, because you guys need to know what's happening. Because what's happening.
All right, so let's just take a moment, and if you are looking to purchase the upgrade, I'm going to ask you to go to LouanneBrizendine.com to purchase the upgrade. We are going to continue to have an amazing discussion about this book, but again, you can go to LouanneBrizendine.com to purchase the upgrade book. If you are looking, of course, to purchase anything from myself, from Elam B King, you can go to elambking.com. Let's get back to the conversation about the upgrade.
Because you're getting more blood in the uterus during this time because it's not doing its normal cycle. So, and you're not feeling very sexy when all that happens. Let me tell you, it's just like,
hold on. But let's stop right there. This is the reason why that I feel like that we need to know, because you're not feeling sexy because of the natural things you go through. And here I am with all this testosterone, like, what's wrong with you? So that's the reason why I feel like that's important to share.
Yeah, and so and also I think if our libido isn't quite what it is because we're not in our normal kind of cycle at that stage, we also kind of start we women, I can remember, you kind of start blaming your partner, like, well, maybe he's not as good a lover as I thought, or maybe he's just lost his touch, or we start to kind of think, well, maybe it's him, maybe he's lost his touch, maybe it's whatever, and so I think there's some blame that starts to go around both ways, And guys tend to think when you're being rejected, like when that door is locked, when that door is never even open, when that shit's going on, I feel for you guys, because it's like you don't know what's going on with our biology. You don't know that we're having all this really heavy bleeding and that our hormones are like in a different state during this time of what I call in the book as the transition. And it's good for you guys to know that, because it isn't you. It isn't you. I mean, and the only part that is you, is if you keep banging on this locked door, then we start to get really annoyed, because you're just thinking like, hey, dude, I just can't do this right now. And so don't take it personal. It's just a phase of our lives as women where we're going through a lot of the biology change of our reproductive system is, losing its eggs, and there's a lot of heavy bleeding and stuff that goes on during this time, and sometimes the uterus gets fibroids, so intercourse can be a little uncomfortable because we get these like fibroids in our uterus, some women do, or your bladder gets to be really sensitive because of the change in hormones, and the estrogen makes the vagina really moist, and the lining of the vagina and the natural lubrication of the vagina can get very, very almost non-existent this time. And so you can imagine, like, if you put a penis in something that's not moist, you can tear it. And
that hurt a little bit. That hurt.
And the thing is, the vaginal tears, once there's pain, think about it. If you see a nail and you step on it once, you're not going to step on that sucker again.
Right.
The body's pain system is saying, like, lady, do not do this. Don't get that thing near me, dude. I don't want that thing. It's like,
that's interesting.
Pain. So if she's got pain, so one of the things you guys can take a little charge of, if she's got pain or that hurt a little bit, or you're getting that kind of feedback from her, then you really got to go for serious lube. And there's some really great lube out there, but you gotta and you guys may be the ones that need to go buy it and introduce it to the lovemaking session, because, if you cause somebody pain, even though she may want to in her head, it's like the minute you start doing it and it's causing pain, she's like,
Mhm.
she may finish that session with you, but she's not going to want to do it again.
And oh gosh, okay. I got my notes over here, so I got questions. Okay, so actually comments and questions
I see
because
your
I
hand
like
up there, Elam. I see your hand up
because
there.
this is good stuff because okay, so let's go to, you said you start thinking, oh, both sides, maybe you lost your touch, maybe you lost your touch. So this is when I start getting the phone calls, right, from a relationship coaching perspective, because the person will call and say, well, this person is not. And do I hear it from men as much as women? I hear it from women, excuse me, men way more, obviously. But that space that maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe you should pick the kids up more. Maybe you should do this. And we start walking around the house with different things going on, or maybe it's job, COVID, whatever, when in actuality, it's your body reacting and your hormones pushing you in a certain direction. Because I think that's key when you said the pain. And then in your mind, it's basically saying, I don't get that near me. And I'm over here taking that real personal.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Mhm.
And of course you are. How could you not be? How could
Right,
you not be? Because this is something that's maybe always worked between you, and all of a sudden it stops working, and you're just going like, maybe she
mm,
doesn't love me anymore. She doesn't want me
right.
anymore. I mean, I think guys really, we women don't understand how much you guys associate the rejection of sex as beings that we don't love you. Where
Oh,
honestly, don't you feel that it's like we often have we're having bleeding, we're having pain, we're having like, we're having, hormones that are like going to the basement, and we don't have our usual libido. I mean, it can be that, if you guys knew, I mean, sometimes the woman, we don't know ourselves sometimes, I mean,
right,
we sometimes start to realize it as we reflect on it and we think about it, but sometimes when it's happening to us, we don't even know
right.
for a while. I mean, then we can get with the program and figure it out and go to the doctor and get some hormones and try and fix the situation. But you guys feel rejected of like, it's like, if someone doesn't want to make love with you, that's already always made love with you, what are you going to think? You're going to think like, she doesn't love me anymore,
Right,
or maybe she's getting it from someplace else,
right, right. And these are some of the things that I hear that come in my ear, and I'm kind of like, have to redirect it. And I think that this is so key, because yeah, that rejection especially if you've never known it before, that's huge. And then, I like how you also said for the men to maybe introduce, any lubrications or whatever case to be. But that will come from how do we know that we're in that space that we need to do that? How,
Well, if like, if sometimes you're like, if you go to insert the penis and she goes, ow,
okay,
or she pulls back from you,
okay.
that's like something is not, something down there ain't working good,
Okay. Okay. And so so would it be an hour every time, or maybe because ladies, sometimes y'all just take it and keep on going, and we have no idea
We
that
do.
we have.
Women do that. I'll tell you, this is the truth. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear the truth. We
Okay.
ladies just take it and keep on going because we just want to get it over with.
Right. So you're saying, so is it so for men we need to start asking just in case, should we, if we're in between, if our spouse, if our wives, if our girlfriends are in between 35 a plus, should this be something we just start asking to make sure that they're comfortable with communicating it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I mean, if you want to have a long-term healthy sexual relationship with somebody,
Hmm.
you got to look for the signs and signals, a bit, and you don't get, so women, as women's hormones change, like in their late 30s, early 40s, you don't get as wet down there because you're just not making the same amount of hormones. So
Okay.
you guys can look for the signs too. If she's not getting as wet, and you sort of got to notice it. I mean, different couples have different, different lovemaking, attributes. I mean, there's a lot of, whatever. If someone's very used to giving oral sex before you have intercourse, it's
Hmm.
probably going to be easy for your relationship, easier during this time for those
Okay.
couples that do that first, because then you're at least checking out the place you're going to go pretty soon. You're checking it out,
You know,
kind of
I
seeing
like
how
that. Hey,
if it's
that's a
talking
good
nice
tip,
people,
though, fellas. That's
that's
a good
nice.
tip, fellas.
You know, if you're
You
down
know-
there, it's like you're checking out the place you want to go pretty soon. You know, it's like if it's not, you know, if it's not responding the usual way, or it's
Uh-huh.
like too dry or whatever. I mean, so those couples will probably have an easier time during this transition.
Mm.
So that's a good argument for oral sex. And so, but if that's not part of your habit with somebody, and you know, lots of some women like it, and some women are whatever, you know. So it's a big spectrum. I'm sure you know from your counseling sessions that some
Right.
women are not into it either.
Right.
So then that's the time when, you know, you at least with your finger, you know, you may kind of test the waters first with the finger. If it's feeling a little dry or something, don't go there. Don't go in there. Do not go in there. Do not enter. That means her body has the door shut, and you either need some lube, or something at that point.
Or yeah, that's, oh my gosh, gentlemen, pay attention. And I think that this is important because now, if we had to put this in a moment of communication wise, would it be that women, are you saying to women today that you need to communicate more because we don't know as men? Is it men? You guys need to do more of the research. Like, number one, got to read this book, The Upgrade. That's number one. But how does this area look in communication? Is it that is the expectation or the accountability more on the woman to communicate this, or for the man to understand it?
Well,
How does that
sometimes
look?
we women don't know ourselves as where we, you know, sometimes we don't know exactly where we are in our cycle exactly. You know, we don't know that we had an eggless cycle and we're not going to be making as much, you know, estrogen that time, or we don't know. And, you know, I mean, we do know obviously when we're bleeding, or we're heavy bleeding, or, you know, something is, or we're having, you know, cramping or pain or those kinds of things, or we're having pain when the insertion of the penis causes pain. We know all that, of course, but we may not be, you know, we're not always onto ourselves right away. But I think what you're talking about is the bottom line is I think both men and women need to be educated about this transition and the upgrade that happens. And the nice thing about the upgrade, the reason it got called the upgrade, is when all of this rock and roll of the hormone cycles are over, when the period stops, then you stop having this fluctuation of like the hormones up and down all the time.
Right.
And sometimes just putting women on a constant level of estrogen at that time, her vagina stays moist and lubricated, and you know, her sexual interest is better. We sometimes add a little of testosterone or DHEA to the creams we give her. That causes an increase in libido and interest in having sex. So sometimes it doesn't increase the number of times you have sex at this age. Let's talk at the age like maybe late 40s to mid 50s. That doesn't. But the women who do take a bit of DHEA or testosterone at this time, which is both androgens that cause increased libido. It can basically have women. They don't lock the door. They may not leave the door wide open for you to come in, but they may not, you know, it's like they won't rebuff you. If you're
We'll take that.
If they may not be initiating so much with you, but they won't rebuff your initiation as much when they're on some of the hormones. So a lot of women need to know this is a time, you know, they've shown that like in the first 5 or 6 years after you stop your period, women can take hormones without having any adverse effects. So that study that came out 20 years ago, it's now 20 years old, was really a flawed study, and that made doctors take all these women off their hormones. And I think the last 20 years, you poor guys have had to suffer too, along with us.
But I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of times, and you said in the beginning about the amount of testosterone that we do have in us, and I remember you talked about that in the male brain as well. That's one of the reasons why that we are so sexually driven. So it's not that, because it's talked down upon from the time I was a teenager. All you guys want to do is have sex, and it wasn't until I read your book and I started telling people after that, the next time that somebody says that to you, say, talk to God, because He made me like this.
This is correct. This is correct. So you boys, so let's go back to what happens to the male brain. Remember, you guys, so at the moment that we're going to go back to the conception of you guys. So when the sperm enters the egg, if that sperm is carrying an X chromosome, it'll be an XX girl. If that sperm is carrying a Y, it'll be a male, a Y, an XY. So you guys starts from the moment of conception. Then in 8 weeks of fetal life, your guys' tiny testicles start to pump out huge, like adult male sizes of testosterone that marinates your brain and body turning it into male. So by the time you're born, we're typically either male or female.
Mhm.
And then, of course, childhood, we don't have very much hormone, but between the ages of 10 years old and 14 for boys, your testosterone goes like this. It goes up 250,
Look at that. Look at that, y'all.
250%. It goes like way,
Look at
way
that.
up. And the average first wet dream is 13.5. That's how we measure male puberty. The first wet dream is when you've hit all your hormones, everything
I
is
remember.
I remember, yeah. So it's 13.5 plus or minus a couple of years in that range. And you guys, by that time, your testosterone is up it's up at adult male levels. How God she made you, right? You're basically being wired for your purpose in life, guys. I hate to say it. Here it comes. Ready for this?
Go ahead.
Your purpose in life is to search out fertile females and inseminate them to do procreation. That's your job.
Now, wait a minute. Let's wait right there. Dr. Louanne Brizendine, I need you to repeat that for once. And the reason why I want to do this is because it's been spoken. I'm kind of joking, but I want to be for real, because the way that we are, every guy knows this. How it's spoken to us is if we're just like these horny little thing with the pink thing hanging out, dog running around, right? And is there a level of discipline that needs to be added in there? Absolutely, yes. But just the thinking of it and why we do it. Can you repeat that one more time for the audience, Dr. Brizendine?
So the way Mother Nature made you guys is that you guys have high testosterone, which is going to run all the brain circuits, all your body circuits, your penis, your testicles, all of you. Your job is to search out fertile females, inseminate them, and procreate the species. Now, that, of course, that doesn't mean that we don't have to learn to be civilized, like you said, all that kind of stuff. But you need, like I say, I'm a hormone doctor. And it's like the hormones cause a behavior, and for you guys, the testosterone is supposed to cause a behavior. You're supposed to go inseminate fertile females to procreate the species. Now, that's what's under the hood for the wiring. I mean,
Right.
There you guys go.
I think that that's important, even for young men that are listening, that are wondering why I feel this type of way, and even for men that might feel why I feel this type of way. I mean, now again, discipline is in order, and things of that nature, but this is where the wiring comes from. So you have that freight train running towards what would be a stop sign at times, based upon the hormones and how they're moving. And that's why I think that a big level of understanding here is that sometimes it's not the other person's, the way that they feel and love towards you. And so, and for a physical touch love language person, it's important even more for us to hear that, because saying no sexually is like, you don't love me. It's a direct correlation. And I love how you said about, and this one of the reasons why that I do have the Y chromosome, as you can see, sitting in the middle of the light bulb. That's the reason why that I have that, because the biggest piece for me with the understanding of man overall is to connect men and women, and the connection that you're bringing to us right now biologically is huge, because some people are right now just thinking, this person doesn't love me. I've been married to them maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and now all of a sudden things are changing, and it's because they don't like me. It's because the myriad of things I hear, because they're out there getting it somewhere else. And then what this can cause sometimes in men, and I don't know if you want to speak on this or whatever, sometimes men, after that higher level of rejection, then they become secluded. And then you have one side that normally might have been initiating, now they don't even want to initiate anymore, because that pain statement that you made earlier, that pain that we feel of being turned down, we don't want to go for that anymore.
That's right. It's when you get rejected that you want to protect yourself from having rejection again. It's just natural. It's like, you want to protect yourself from getting hurt again and getting turned down and rejected. And so flipping it for the females, we're having these, we've got all of these guys out there. We're being driven to procreate and to, go out there and inseminate fertile females. Our job as females we're supposed to select the best sperm for our progeny. And then, we're supposed to be very selective, and we keep that door closed to most people. And then we find the one guy that's going to be able, because, human infants are very, very helpless for the first, 2 to 4 years. They really need security, and they need a guy to help the woman protect the nest, all of that, because they're not going to be able to grow up and survive. So we women are all about, protection and trying to keep the lid on things. And our job is, Mother Nature made us to be really selective, hugely selective, and that doesn't stop just because you're partnered with somebody. And it's selective where, like I said, that there's 3 to 5 days a month that are the really good days, right, for you guys.
Right.
So think about it, because I think you guys should think about the issue of, you don't want to be rejected and turned down. So it's great to be able to think. I mean, it's not a great message to you guys that there's only like a little, maybe 1 week a month that's maybe going to be the really good times, right?
Mhm.
And the other 3 weeks are going to be, well, maybe not. But I think that taking the other 3 weeks when you're turned down, don't take it personal. It may be really related to her hormones, and it's nothing you do or don't do. I mean, I think it's really hard on you guys, but it's not. You got to figure out some negotiated, some way that it
Come
works.
on, negotiate. We got to negotiate outside of those 4 days, gentlemen. Okay. Oh my goodness. Listen, this was question one. Question one had subsets because you kept on pulling out other stuff. I mean, we got like 4 or 5 more questions, but I want to go to this one right here. And then maybe we might have to come back and do a part 2, Dr. Brizendine, because you're dropping gems, and I don't want to rush through this, because us as men, we really, that last statement that you just made of us not taking it personal, that's when I would say